Hi everybody, this is Jennifer. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be a Friday Reads video. I'm going to go over some books I finished reading recently and what I'm currently reading right now. In lieu of an actual reading rush wrap up, I'm just going to give you a little thing on what I read and how I did. I did not do all that great. I finished 2 books and I started on another one. The first one I finished was Call Me By Your Name by Aciman. It's about Elio. He's 17 and his family is spending the summer in their Italian house, and his father has kind of like an intern, kind of like an assistant or something, a grad student by the name of Oliver, who shows up, and there's a romance and a love story here, and then there's just all this good stuff about Italy. I did not like it as much as the movie. I did enjoy it, and there were parts that I wish, there were parts that I wish were in the movie. There are parts that I'm glad were not in the movie. And in general, I found this an enjoying read, and I will probably reread it sometime in the future. But it was pretty good. 4 stars. Then I finished Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm gonna put a picture of that like right there, or maybe right there to cover up that giant light patch that I cannot seem to get rid of. Binti is she's the first person in her tribe to be recruited for this this university that's off planet, and she sneaks out to go, and something happens on her trip to the school, and that's all I'm going to say about it. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I really ended up enjoying it. What I would say is it's a bit too short, and the thing that happens, and it just doesn't have as much impact as it should, like emotional impact, because you don't spend enough time to the people it happens to really, care all that much. It's just something that happens that sets up, it's a plot device, basically, instead of having any real, like, emotional impact. It has plenty of impact on the story, of course, but not, I don't know, it just doesn't, the way it's set up doesn't really add all that much. It could have used a little bit more build-up. So I started I'll Have What She's Having by Erin Carlson, how Nora Ephron's 3 iconic films saved the romantic comedy. You have to be really careful when you're putting in a parenthetical like that, because I don't really think it lives up to that. However, I really, really, really enjoyed this, and I learned quite a lot of good stuff, like how Meg Ryan was supposed to be Shelby on the Steel Magnolia movies instead of Julia Roberts, and she pulled out to play Sally, and I'm like, good, because I don't want to hear Meg Ryan's southern accent, and Julia Roberts was perfect in that. So yeah, so if you're a fan of those movies, I would really recommend reading this. It's a really good behind the scenes look at how the movies got made, how they did, and what was going on in the lives of the people who made them. True confession, I'm not a fan of Sleepless in Seattle. I liked it, but I've only seen it the one time. When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail are the 2 movies that I watched at least a few times a year, and I really love them. So finding out about them was really fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. And that ended up getting 4 stars from me. I didn't have any 5-star reads this month, which is sad, but you know what? I still had some pretty enjoyable reads. So next up was Confessions of an Art Addict by Peggy Guggenheim. I didn't end up rating this at all because it's kind of like rating an episode, not an episode, an issue of like Vanity Fair magazine or something. It was a lot of fun. It was like name dropping, parties, a little bit of biography, but it was super short. It was only like 100 pages, and there just wasn't really very much to dig into with that book. So yeah, it was okay. And then I have the book here. It's Ariel by Silvia Plath. I have to say I really didn't get this one. It is poetry, which is not something I read a lot of. So that could have contributed to that. There were some that I liked, but yeah, it was okay. And then the last book I read recently was The Vine That Ate the South by J.D. Wilkes. J.D. Wilkes, he wrote in the book and he illustrated this in here. The illustrations in here, and I liked it. The ending, it felt a bit, well, it felt rushed for one, and it felt a bit like he wasn't quite up to actually writing what happened. And so there's a device in here. It was still pretty good. I actually enjoyed it, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It's basically like Southern Gothic horror, and it works pretty well for that. You meet some very backwoodsy folks, and it has a lot to say about the culture of the South. This actually takes place in Kentucky, which is not where I'm from. I am from Florida, but I have family from Alabama and the Panhandle and Georgia, and I have family that currently lives in all those places, like all over the South. So that adds to the interest for me, and it worked okay. Like I said, the ending kind of spoiled it for me a little, but in general, I thought this was pretty good, and I gave it 4 stars. All right, so what am I currently reading? I am currently reading The Accidental by Ali Smith. I'm about 25% in. This is good so far. It's so far so good. So this family is having a summer vacation in this house that they're renting, and this woman just shows up and inserts herself in their lives. There's a young kid who has her hand firmly attached to her video camera. There is an older teenager who was inadvertently, like not on purpose, but he was involved in the suicide of a classmate. There is the professor, skeevy AF professor, who's constantly sleeping with his students. And then the mom, who is a writer and who pretty much buries herself in her study working on a book during the day, and she really only comes out at dinner. I'm finding this pretty well readable right now. I'm interested to see how the story goes. I feel like it's one of those things that's either going to be, oh, that's pretty cool, or oh no, it ticked me off. But we'll figure it out. I'm also reading the Europe in Autumn, which is the first book in the Fractured Europe series. It's by Dave Hutchinson. Image will go there, so you can see the cover. I've had this book for a while. I saw it originally on Books and Pieces, Elizabeth's channel, and I've been eager to get to it. I have all 4 ebooks, so I need to start reading them, and I just decided to. And I really am enjoying it. Well, I haven't really got into it so far, but I've enjoyed what I read. And I think it's going to be interesting. I want to see, this is a dystopian novel. And this guy, Rudy, he's the chef in a Polish restaurant in Krakow. And he gets pulled into this thing to smuggle his boss's cousin from another country in this super fragmented, like city-state-like New Europe that came about via this dystopian situation, which we don't know actually how it happened yet. Hopefully at some point we will find out how it happened. But yeah, so so far so good. I'm also listening to the audiobook of Kings of the Wylde by Nicholas Eames. I'm going to put the picture up for you to see. I'm about 20% into this. I'm going very slowly with this one. I don't have a chance to listen to the audiobook very much, and I'm not really reading the ebook portion. This book is okay. It has its moments. There was this really funny moment due to the explosion of this magician's factory, and he makes magical potions for erectile dysfunction. And they literally use the term erectile dysfunction in a fantasy novel, and it just took me right out of it. But this explosion causes a very specific reaction in pretty much everybody who's involved with it, and that is hilarious. But in general, I'm finding it a bit slow going, and this conceit it has where these bands of marauders or like heroes or whatever they are, fighters, they lean hard into the band portion, like they're getting the band back together, and then they're like managers or like bookers, and it's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, can we just stop with that already? And because I'm finding it a little less inventive and a little more cheesy, like all the time. Anyway, but I'm hoping I will end up liking this. I certainly have no intention of stopping listening to it, but we'll get there eventually. Hopefully by the end of the year, this book will be finished. Well, hopefully by the end of September. I am hoping to have this book, the audiobook, finished of that. So yeah, that is what I am currently reading. If I end up finishing any of these, I'm probably gonna move on to the lesser Bohemians by Emer McBride. However, if I do not finish anything before Thursday, this will have to go into September, because I am taking part in the Get Graphic readathon that's being hosted by Matthew Sharapa, Adriana at Perpetual Pages, and Kayla at Bookadoodles. So I will have a TBR up for that no later than next Friday. So yeah, those are my reading plans so far, and you will hear more about my plans for September later. There will definitely be Shakespeare involved, as per the last 2 years, though I have no idea what form that's going to take just yet. So yeah, that is my Friday reads. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've read any of these and you have comments on it, or you can tell me what you're reading in the comments section below, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.